From the eyes of police, the moment before officers fired 13 times into a car without knowing who was inside. At the end of it, a young mother was killed. Our Rebecca Lopez broke this story.
Tonight, she sits down with a former Dallas assistant police chief who says this is one of the worst shootings he's ever seen.
She was only 21, and she died at the hands of a Dallas police officer.
She was a good person. She wasn't a violent person at all.
18 months later, we can finally see exactly how it happened.
At this point, it is a stolen vehicle.
Body camera video obtained exclusively by News 8 shows police officers responding to a stolen car. Genevive Dawes and her boyfriend are inside sleeping.
What's up?
This video shows Dawes initially tries to drive backwards, hits a squad car that has been moved up to block her exit. So she drives forward, hits a fence, and then begins to slowly drive backwards again.
Back up.
At that moment, Officer Christopher Hess opens fire.
Don't move!
He shoots 13 times.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
Here's another look from Officer Jason Kemple's body camera. Kemple also fires one round. Dawes dies at the scene.
On your knees towards me!
Her boyfriend crawls out of the passenger seat and makes it out alive.
To see the loss of a life that I didn't think had to happen was something that did upset me.
Randy Blankenbaker was the assistant chief over the unit that investigated the case. He says Hess told investigators he thought other officers were in danger of being run over, so he fired his weapon. But the video shows there's no one behind the car.
You have to know what's in your background. You can't say that you believe that something was in the background. You have to know what's in the background.
He says the video proves the officers violated the use of force policy.
You don't know what's in that vehicle. There could have been children in the back seat that were shot and killed.
DPD did eventually find a weapon in the car, but prior to the shooting, they didn't know it was there. Dawes' family attorney talked to us last year.
Clearly, Rebecca, the force that was used was extreme, it was excessive.
Officer Hess was arrested and indicted for aggravated assault by a police officer. DPD fired him. Officer Kemple was not indicted or fired. He is still on the force.
I certainly made the argument at the time Kemple should have been terminated and that he should have been held accountable to that level at least.
Hey, somebody go out there and guide the ambulance in, boo.
Dawes did not comply with officers' commands, but Blankenbaker says her punishment should not have meant death. Rebecca Lopez, Channel 8 News.
Now, a grand jury did look into Officer Kemple's actions and chose not to indict him. Dawes' boyfriend, Virgilio Rosales, was charged for having a weapon because he is a convicted felon.
Christopher Hess?
Freedom for 42-year-old Christopher Hess will come down to how a jury perceives multiple body camera videos and the idea of an immediate threat for a police officer. During opening statements Tuesday, prosecutors called Hess's decision to shoot into a moving vehicle totally unreasonable and totally unjustified. Hess was one of 6 Dallas police officers called out to a report of a stolen car at an apartment complex over 3 years ago. Jurors watched body camera video as officers tried to get whoever was in the car to comply. When the car started up, 2 DPD officers testified their concern heightened and only increased when it backed into a patrol car and then tried to ramp through a fence. Aaron Evans was one of the officers on scene.
My belief was that they were going to come back through us, if that was their goal.
You believe that they were going to come back through you? Why would you believe that that's what their next step is?
Because they showed no indication that they were going to stop.
As the vehicle backed up a second time, that's when Officer Hess fired a dozen shots into the car, killing 21-year-old Genevive Dawes. Her passenger was uninjured. Prosecutors argue Dawes, simply trying to leave the scene, shouldn't have gotten her killed.
Can you shoot somebody for disobeying police commands?
No.
Okay. Can you shoot somebody for fleeing in a vehicle if the vehicle is not a threat to you?
No.
But the perception of threat will be another issue for jurors. Late Tuesday, Officer Peter Lecquar testified about what he saw.
And the direction it was backing up indicated that it would then turn towards us. So is immediate a couple seconds? Is it a half second, a split second? It kind of depends.
It may depend on whether Hess takes a stand in his own defense as testimony continues the rest of the week. In Dallas, I'm David Goer.